I'm so nervous to talk about this. No, sorry. I don't wanna cry. You know, a little thing, a little, you know, what you do before you leave on a trip or whatever. We're going a little ahead. Lost. That's the perfect word to call it, and he would answer truthfully. I was like, you know, wait. I'm ready, I guess. Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lena, and for those that don't know me, I do vlog style content as well as some fun other videos as well. I post twice a month. Today's video, I wanted to do something kind of fun. So this is gonna be like a segment or something like that, or an episode that will happen every so often. We'll see how it goes. Let's talk about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in with this video. Here is the lovely story of how I dealt with a breakup. I was in a 5-year relationship, and that ended June of 2022. Around my 3rd year of being together and living together, things kind of shifted. When we first started going out, the first way that we ever met each other was we surfed together. He is working as an assistant manager at the beach, and there is also a girl that was working there as well. We'll call her C, and we'll call my ex-boyfriend A. So A and C were friends. One of the things that started happening in my relationship was he would leave really early in the morning to go surfing. And at first I thought, oh, he was going surfing for himself, and that was the case. And then slowly he started to say that he was gonna go surfing with her. Heated argument about it, and I already had my doubts. So when we argued about it, and my reasoning was we had met that way, and so I feel like that was like a significant part of us as a whole. And so now you're sharing it with another girl, even though she's your friend, sure, but you're sharing it with her, and you're taking time out of the morning to spend more time with her, even though you're going to be working with her from this time all the way till 6 p.m. at the evening to like 7 sometimes. It started to become annoying and frustrating, and he was telling me how she's really nice and that, you know, he would love if we got along and like hung out, and that she didn't have a lot of friends or whatever because she just recently moved. She was married and all of that jazz. I'm gonna be friends with her, I'm gonna give it a chance. And so her and I got to know each other, and we got to find out that we both really enjoy books. And we started to click, and we started to have a good time and like girl chat and all of that. A started to get jealous that her and I were hanging out so much. And so I said, why don't we all hang out with her husband? They started to be very touchy feeling and like doing things that I wouldn't say normal friends would do. We were struggling really hard. You know, I think we were both at our breaking point in our relationship, and like this was the last thing that we could do to hopefully fix anything and whatever, because I feel like once you go to counseling as a couple, like in a relationship, not married or anything, and as a couple, I feel like that in and of itself is saying that maybe you're not meant to be together. I was leaving for a trip. I was actually headed to Bali, and that happened in June of 2022. I told my ex-partner that let's do this. Since he's not a really good communicator, he was never really a good talker when it came to things like emotions and whatnot. I'll buy you a notebook, I'll buy myself a notebook, and why don't we write how we feel, what we want in our relationship, what we want moving forward, what our aspirations are in life. This was my breaking point, this was his breaking point, this was the last thing that we could do to fix our relationship to some extent, because there's a lot of trust issues and there was a lot of things that were happening. I feel like I was treated very poorly at the end of the relationship. The day before I left for my trip, we were planning to go and hang out with his family members and do some stuff. However, I started to feel really sick. I think I had like a cold or something. My nose was like oozing, and ironically enough, I'm sick right now as we're speaking. I was super sick, and I told him like, you can go and I'm just gonna pack and stuff, and hopefully you'll be home in time to say goodnight because you have to wake up early in the morning to go to work, so blah, 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 blah. He left and I started, you know, packing 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So the hours kept changing, and I had waited for him to come home, you know, and I started to cry. So I cried because, and I actually messaged C because I was like, hey, I think I caught whatever you got, because she was also sick previously. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And she, you know, I was making some tea and we were talking, and I was just bawling my eyes out because I had so much love and so much hope that he would come back early enough just to say goodnight and to hang out. And he got home really late, 11 or 10ish, and I just remember lying in bed really sad. And then he came in and he started crying, and he told me that he's sorry, and I said, it's okay, you're here now. And we were hugging, and then we fell asleep, and he woke up, he left for work, and that was that. It takes about a day or two to arrive to Indonesia. So when I finally arrived to Indonesia, you know, I texted him and I say, I'm here and I'm free to chat if you're ready to chat. And so we texted each other just saying, oh, you know, like letting each other know what's going on. And so I knew that C was going on an apprentice thing she was doing in the mainland. And so she was leaving on Wednesday. I had asked him, like, what are your plans for today? And mind you, it was Wednesday, so he ironically didn't have work, and neither did she. And so he says, oh, I'm gonna hang out with my friend. And I say, you mean C? And he's like, yeah, is that a problem? No, it's okay. And he said to me, well, I'm gonna go and say goodbye to her because she's leaving for her apprenticeship, you know, and whatever. So he wanted to hang out with her. So he did. He hung out with her, and like they did what we had done. They did the exact same thing that we did. I got really angry. I think anyone would, because you will say goodbye to the friend that's a girl, but you won't say goodbye to your own girlfriend. I don't know. It was already fishy. My gut was already turning, and so we got into a heated argument through the phone, and he just told me, you know what, let's just talk when you get back. So I was like, okay, fine. And I was so upset. I remember that trip to Bali, I was just heartbroken. I was crying. Oh my God, I don't want to cry. Wait. But yeah, so we got to the villa, and I just remember sleeping alone. And it was one of the hardest things, because I knew that while I'm sleeping, he was hanging out with her. It hurt so much. And during that trip, I was probably at the heaviest that I had ever been, and probably the most unhappiest. No, not even probably. I was the most unhappiest person that I had ever been. Gosh, sorry. And yeah, so we didn't talk, but I wrote a lot of things written down in my notebook. But because Bali, it takes sometimes like an hour to 2 hours to get somewhere, I was able to just write it in my notes instead of writing it down on paper, just because it was really bumpy. That was that. And one of the biggest things that I remember was I would sleep, but I would play anything. I would play like YouTube video. I would play anything that had sound in it playing in the background. I was in Bali for 2 weeks, and we hadn't talked for 2 weeks, and I had the worst time. And then it was the time to fly back. We were around like 2 hours before landing. I went to the bathroom and like spruced myself up and got ready and was really excited to see him. He comes to pick me up, and we hug. One of the things that he said to me was he thought that I would run to him and like hug him. I did not do that. And one of the other things that I noticed is that his promise ring that I had got him, he wasn't wearing it. And at that time we were house sitting for my mom. I took a shower. We started to have the conversation. He started off by saying that you have a lot of potential. He doesn't want to hold me back. I had begged for him not to leave. So he stayed 2 nights with me, and within those 2 nights we had the 3rd day he said that he was leaving, and we had a dog and he took the dog with him. It was a very good mutual breakup. It was at first it was very mutual. I had smoked with his sister the day that I left. Something that I want to say is when we got into our relationship, I was 18 and he was 21. Didn't want in a relationship is for both parties to be on drugs. So I made an ultimatum with him when we first started going out, saying that if he did any drugs, that I would not date him or I would break up with him. And so he broke it the day that I left. Basically, I felt like he already knew what he was gonna do because he already did what he did. And mind you, I left my mom back in Bali, and I was going through so much. I didn't want my mom to come back home because of me. So I didn't tell her for 3 days. Within those 3 days, I didn't eat. I didn't really sleep well. I didn't have energy. I just felt really lonely. Finally, I told my mom. I called her on the phone, FaceTimed her, and I told her that he broke up with me. And my mom is such a proactive person, and I love her so much for that, because she was like, okay, we're gonna get your stuff out of there, we're gonna get you a storage unit, we're gonna get you out of there. At that point in my life, I was like lost. That's the perfect word to call it. So basically, that was all happening, and one of the things that my ex had told me was I could ask him any question and he would answer truthfully. One of the things that I will say is that every single day after we had broken up, he had been smoking. When we were in our relationship, I will say he was smoking e-cigs. We planned to go on a hike together on a Wednesday. He's been smoking a lot of hello, and I knocked on the bedroom door, and I had my hiking outfit on. I was like, are we gonna go and do this? He's just like waking up, and he's like, so he grabbed me and he hugged me in bed. And one of the things that he just was like hugging me, and I got up and I was like, what are you doing or whatever, and he thought that we were gonna have, which we didn't, because I told him that, oh, I'm on my period. And he's like, what? So you've been other people? And I said, no, my body has been so stressed. And then he got a message, and I said, was that her? And I was like, can you be honest or like whatever and tell me, like, do you have feelings for her? And he said, I just need someone that's more intellectually there and more experienced enough. He perceived to also say that yes, he did have feelings for her, that he doesn't know if she has feelings for him. Something snapped, and I just left. I was working one day, and it was very hard for me to work, but I was working, and C comes and she says to me like, hey, yada yada yada. We hug, and we were cool, we were chill, I was totally her friend at that point. And I was like, oh hey, I hope everything's okay. She started crying, she hugged me, and then she started crying, and then I started crying because I said he dumped me. And then she proceeded to say that she got divorce papers. And so here are 2 broken girls. Though I thought I was gonna do it on this coming Friday, but I ended up texted the group that was gonna help move my stuff, and I said, could you guys move it on Thursday? Can we move it earlier? Things are starting to make sense, and one of the biggest things that he told me was that he never liked when I texted him a lot. And yeah, so my mom flies back. Oh, I'm sorry. So this was a boss move on my end. I owned a lot of the stuff in the house that we had together, or the apartment, or whatever you want to call it. Thing was, when I was doing all of this, I tried not to run into him. And it's funny because I stopped texting him, and then he started texting more. The day that we were moving stuff, he had told me that he had left, and I was like, okay, so I can go. So I went in and I started getting stuff ready. He comes back, he went to McDonald's, he's looking at the place, and I get uncomfortable, so I head out. I'm like, why is he here? Like, I feel uncomfortable. In that he was just like, what, no mercy? And he said that to me as if I was the villain. Everything was pretty much packed and ready to go. During this time as well was the time where I messaged C and I said, hey, can you and I meet up? So this is the point where I know that he has feelings for her and that she also has feelings for him, because her husband at the time had messaged me and we started to put 2 and 2 together. Because the biggest thing that I was thinking of is I am not gonna let this girl do this to me and think that this is okay and normally okay. We met up at a Lookout. Some people thought when I messaged them, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna meet up with her at the Lookout. Some people were like thinking like I would push her over. I didn't do that. I'm not that spiteful and or mean. I just wanted to be clear that we are no longer friends, and I wanted to say it to her face because I don't want any miscommunication via text. I don't want you to think that we're gonna be best friends again, ever. And I hug her because we were friends. And so we hugged and she's like, oh, I'm coming. She's like, oh, a hug? And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. I just said, my ex told me he has feelings for you. And I said, you told me that this would never happen. And she goes to say that, yes, I know I never said, but it just happened. I told her that her ex-husband had messaged me and told me that you had feelings for him. And she got mad. She got mad at him, not so much me. I told her very straight up that obviously we can no longer be friends and that we're not friends anymore. I feel like our friendship wasn't real, I said to her, and she's like, well, I felt like our friendship was real or whatever. No friend of mine would treat me that disrespectfully, right? No friend ever would do something like that. At least that's what I would think. I mean, because then if they're doing this to you, they can do it to anyone else, right? So at the end of our conversation, I was like, I really have nothing else to say, but I just wanted to get that off my chest, and that I have things to do. Before I left, she says, well, if you ever, need anything, you can always reach out and I'll be there or something. And in my head, this is what I thought in my head. I was gonna give a snarky comment and say, well, I'll give you a text or a call when I have a new relationship because apparently you like what I have or had, but I didn't say that. I just was like, oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. And I just ignored that and I just left, and that was that. Where we live, it's such a small place. Everyone knows everyone, and people at his work started to see like how they interacted, and they knew that that each of them were in relationship. 2 people were hurt the most than the other 2. So cheating isn't just sleeping with another person. Cheating is also emotionally cheating. He cheated on me because he stopped telling me things, and then he would start telling her things and would confide in her. Wasn't being honest with me, and there's so much to that breakup that happened. But that was pretty much the nitty-gritty of it all. I went to Canada for a year last year, and it was an amazing experience. It was super fun, super cool, and I'm just so very grateful that my friends were there for me and that they were so kind and so welcoming. And I was growing, I was learning, I was moving on. He reached out to me last year asking if he could talk because he saw my YouTube video. I didn't respond. He wanted to follow me. Then he changed his message. Then he changed it again. Then he messaged my other Instagram account. Then he messaged a friend of mine bothering her. That happened. And then this year, when I just came to Bali and I was doing some fun videos of like trying on swimsuits, he messages me saying like I'm trying to do a healing journey and I'm trying to heal, and I don't need any distractions. All right, so breakup is over. The sad part is gone, and this is the fun part. So for those that are going through breakup, I will say one of the biggest things that helped a lot was listening to breakup songs. You go from like really sad breakup songs to like why did you leave me, to like you, to I'm a boss, to back to just normal music. I kind of went through a little crazy tattoo moment, and I got like tatted a couple of times. One of the biggest tattoos that I got for that breakup specifically was this one right here. As you can see, this one I got left to right, and so from this it's like I was really sad and now I'm super happy, and that's the tattoo that represents that breakup. It just represents to me that everything's gonna be okay. Everything is fluid, everything will come back together, and it just takes time. And something that my mom actually said to me is that they will always come back, whether it's a year from now, 2 to 3 to 4, always come back and just message or say something. And ironically enough, he did that last year. With ultimatums, like, again, I think because I was 18 and he was 21, he could go to bars, he could go to clubs, he could drink, you know, alcohol. And I, being 18, the only thing that I could do when I'm 18 is get tattoos. So I would say I was insecure about that part. So that's why I made that ultimatum. Just take your time. If any of your exes messaged you back, just don't message them back. And my thought process with that, and that I've told my friend as well, is you've already given them enough of your time. Time is really precious, and it's something that you absolutely could never get back. This is my side of the story. There's always two sides to every story. And I will be honest, I probably wasn't also the greatest girlfriend at times either. I think there was still so much growing on my end as well. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, give it a like and feel free to subscribe. I will talk to you guys and see you guys in the next one. Bye!